Now, let us know who is Manuel L. Quezon or Manuel Luis Quezon E. Molina. Manuel Quezon was born on August 19, 1878 on Baler, Philippines and died on August 1, 1944 in Sanarak Lake, New York, USA. He was a Filipino statesman, leader of independence movement, and the first president of the Philippine Commonwealth established under the U.S. tutelage in 1935. Manuel L. Quezon is the second president of the Philippines and the first president of the Philippine Commonwealth. He has been also the Secretary of National Defense. In his term is on July 16, 1941 to December 1941. He's the first president of the Senate of the Philippines. He's also a senator of the Philippines from the 5th District, president of the Philippine Amateur Athletic Foundation, resident commissioner to the House of U.S. House of Representatives from the Philippine Islands, Assembly Majority Leader, member of the Philippine Assembly from Tayabas 1st District, 4th Governor of Tayabas, member of the Lucena Municipal Council, 2nd President of the Nacionalista Party List, and Mayor of the Quezon City, which is his term is 12th of October 1939 to 4th of November of the 1939. He is also the 15th Secretary for Public Instruction, and his term is the 1st of December 1938 to the 19th of April 1939. Early life and education of Manuel L. Quezon. So, Quezon was born on the 19th of August 1878 in Baler in the district of El Príncipe, the capital of Nueva Ecija, now Baler, Aurora. His parents were Lucio Quezon y Velez and Maria Dolores Molina. He studied at Colegio de San Juan Letran, where he graduated from secondary school in 1894. Quezon was a son of a school teacher and a small landholder Tagalog descent on the island of Luzon. He cut short his law studies at University of Santo Tomas, Manila in 1899 to participate the struggle for independence against United States led by Emilio Aguinaldo. After Aguinaldo surrendered in 1901, however, Quezon returned to the university to obtain his degree in 1903 and practiced law for a few years. Convinced that the only way to independence was through cooperation with the United States, he ran for governor of Tayabas province in 1905. Once he elected, he served for 2 years before being elected as a representative in 1907 to the newly established Philippine Assembly. So now let us move on to Manuel Acoña Rojas, who was born in January 1, 1892 in Capiz, Philippines and died on April 15, 1948 in Clarkfield, Pampanga. Was a political leader and the first president of the Independent Republic of the Philippines on 1946 to 1948. Manuel Acoña Rojas was the 5th President of the Philippines, the first President of the Liberal Party on January 19, 1946 to April 15, 1948, the second President of the Senate of the Philippines, his on January 9, 1945 to May 25, 1946. Senator within the year July 9, 1945 to May 25, 1946. Executive Secretary, Secretary of Finance, Second Speaker of the Philippine House of Representatives, Member of the House of Representatives from Capiz 1st District, Member of the National Assembly, and sixth Governor of Capiz and a member of Capiz Municipal Council. The early life and education of Manuel Aconia Rojas. So, Manuel Rojas y Aconia was born on January 1st, 1892 in Capiz or Rojas City, now in the present day, to Geraldo Rojas y Luis and Rosario Aconia y Villaruz. Rojas received his early education in the public school of Capiz and attended St. Joseph's College in Hong Kong at the age of 12. He transferred to Manila High School, graduating with honors in 1909, and Rojas began his law studies at a private law school established by George A. Malcolm, the first dean of the University of the Philippines College of Law. On his second year, he enrolled at the University of the Philippines, where he was elected as a president of his class and a student council. After studying law at the University of the Philippines near Manila, Rojas began his political career in 1917 as a member of the Municipal Council of Capiz, or renamed now as Rojas, in 1949. He was a governor of the province of Capiz in 1919 to 1921 and was elected to the Philippine House of Representatives, subsequently serving as the Speaker of the House and a member of the Council State. In 1923, he and Manuel Quezon, the Senate President, resigned in protest from the Council of State when the U.S. Governor General Leonard Wood began vetoing bills passed by Philippine legislature. In 1932, Rojas and Sergio Esmiña, the Nacionalista Party leader, led the Philippine independence mission to Washington, D.C., where they influenced the passage of the Hari-Hawis Cutting Act. Rojas was later opposed by Quezon, who held the act to compromise future Philippine independence. The Nacionalista Party was split between on this issue. In 1934, however, Rojas was a member of the convention that drew up the Constitution under the revised Philippine Independence and Commonwealth Act, or Trading-McDuffie Act. Rojas also served as Secretary of the Finance in Commonwealth Government in his term in the year 1938 to 1940. During the World War II, Rojas served in the pro-Japanese government of Jose Laurel by acquiring supplies of rice for the Japanese soldiers. Although a court was established after the war to try collaborators, Rojas was defended by his friend General Douglas MacArthur. Rojas was elected as a president of the Commonwealth in 1946 as a nominee of the liberal wing of the Nacionalista Party list, which became now the Liberal Party, and when independence was declared in July 4, he became the first president of the new republic. Although Rojas was successful by getting rehabilitation funds from the United States after the independence, he was forced to concede military base, 23 of which were leased for 99 years, trade restrictions for the Philippine citizens, and special privilege for U.S. property owners and investors. His administration was marred by graft and corruption. Moreover, the abuse of provincial military police contributed to the rise of the left-wing Hukbalahap or Hook movement in the countryside. He heavy-handed attempts to crush Hook leads to widespread peasant dissatisfaction. Rojas died in office in 1948 and was succeeded by his vice president Elpidio Quirino. Now let us move on to the next president, which is Elpidio Rivera Quirino. Elpidio Quirino was born on November 16th of 1890 in Vigan, Philippines, and died on February 28th of February 1956 in Novaliches. Was a political leader and the second president of the independence of Republic of the Philippines. He was the sixth president of the Philippines, the third president of the Liberal Party, the second vice president of the Philippines, the Secretary of Foreign Affairs, Secretary of Finance, Senate President, and a senator. Elpidio Quirino Rivera's early life and education. Elpidio Quirino E. Rivera was born on 16th of 1890 at Vigan Provincial Jail in Vigan, Ilocos Sur. He was the third child of Mariano Quirino E. Quibal of Cauyan, Ilocos Sur, and Gregoria Rivera E. Mendoza of Aglo, La Union. Quirino first attended secondary education in Vigan High School, during which he worked as a teacher in Barrio Caparian, Cauyan, Ilocos Sur. He transferred to Manila High School in Intramuros, Manila, and he studied at the University of the Philippines. After obtaining a law degree from the University of the Philippines near Manila in 1915, Quirino practiced law until he was elected as a member of the Philippine House of Representatives in 1919 to 1925 and a senator in 1925 to 1931. In 1935, he was a member of the Philippine Independence Mission to Washington, D.C., headed by Manuel Quezon, which secured the passage in Congress of Tiding McDuffie Act, settling the date for Philippine independence as July 4, 1946. He was also elected to the convention that drafted a constitution for the new Philippine Commonwealth. Subsequently, he served as a Secretary of Finance and Secretary of Interior in the Commonwealth government. President Quirino's administration faced the serious threat in the form of communist-led Hukbalahap or Hook movement. Through the Hook's original has been an anti-Japanese guerrilla army in Luzon, the communists steadily gained control over leadership, and when Quirino's negotiations with Hook commander Luis Taruk broke down in 1948, Taruk openly declared himself as a communist and called for the overthrow of the government. By 1950, the Hooks gained control over considerable portion of Luzon, and Quirino appointed the able Ramon Magsaysay as the Secretary of National Defense to supply the insurrection. Quirino's 6 years as president were marked by noticeable post-war reconstruction, general economic gains, and increased economic aid from the United States. Basic social problems, however, particularly in the rural areas, remained unsolved. Quirino's administration was tainted by the widespread of graft and corruption. In 1949 elections, which he had won, were among most dishonest were among the most dishonest election in the country's history. Magsaysay, who had been largely in eliminating the threat of hook insurgents, broke with Quirino on the issue of corruption, campaigning for clean elections and defeating Quirino as the Nacionalista candidate in the presidential election in 1953. Subsequently, Quirino retired in a private life. Now let us move on to the next biography of a Filipino prominent figure, Ramon Magsaysay, who was born on the 31st of August 1907 and died on March 17, 1957 near Cebu, who was the President of the Philippines in the year 1953 to 1957, best known for successfully defeating the communist-led Hukbalahap movement. He was the 7th President of the Philippines, 6th Secretary of National Defense, member of the House of Representatives from Zambales Lone District, and a military governor of Zambales. The early life and education of Ramon del Fierro Magsaysay. Ramon del Fierro Magsaysay, of mixed Tagalog, Visayan, Spanish, and Chinese descent, was born in Iba, Zambales on August 31 of 1907 to Ezequiel Magsaysay y de los Santos and Perfecta del Fierro y Quimson. He spent his grade school's life somewhere in Castillejos and his high school life in Zambales Academy in San Narciso, Zambales. Magsaysay enrolled in the University of the Philippines in 1927, where he enrolled in mechanical engineering course, and he also studied in Institute of Commerce of Rizal College, or now known as Jose Rizal University, in 1928 to 1932. Ramon Magsaysay is the son of an artisan and Magsaysay was a school teacher in the province of Iba on the island of Luzon. Though the most Philippine political leaders were Spanish descent, Magsaysay was of Malay stock, like most of the common people. Working his way through Rizal's College near Manila, he obtained his commercial degree in 1933 and became a general manager of a Manila transportation company. After serving the guerrilla leader on Luzon during the World War II, he was appointed as a military governor of his province, Zambales, when the United States recaptured the Philippines. He served 2 terms, which is the year 1946 to 1950, as a Liberal Party congressman for Zambales, his first experience in politics. President Elpidio Quirino appointed Magsaysay as the Secretary of Defense to deal with the threat of Huk, whose leader Luis Taruc in 1950 established a People's Liberation Army and called for the overthrow of the government. Magsaysay then carried out until 1953 one of the most successful anti-guerrilla campaigns in modern history. Realizing that Huk could not survive without popular support, he strove to win trust of the peasants by offering lands and tools to those who come over to the government side, and by insisting that army units treat the people with respect. Reforming the army, he dismissed corrupt and incompetent officers, emphasized mobility and flexibility in combat operation against the guerrillas. By 1953, the Huk were no longer a serious threat, but Magsaysay's radical measures had many enemies for him within the government, compelling him to resign on February 28th when he charged the Quirino administration with corruption and incompetence. Although Magsaysay was a liberal, the Nacionalista Party successfully backed him for presidency against Quirino in 1953 elections, winning with Carlos P. Romulo, who had organized a third party. Magsaysay promised to reform in every segment of the Philippine life, but he was frustrated in his efforts by a conservative Congress that represented the interests of the wealthy. Despite initial support of the Congress in July 1955, Magsaysay was unable to pass effective land reform legislation. Government indifference to the plight of the peasants then undid most of his good work in gaining the supports of people against hooks. Nevertheless, he remained extremely popular and well-deserved reputation for incorruptibility. In foreign policy, Magsaysay remained close friend and supporter of the United States and was a vocal spokesman against communism during the Cold War. He made the Philippine member of the Southeast Asia Treaty Organization, which was established in Manila on September 8, 1954. Before the expiration of his term as presidency, Magsaysay was killed in an airplane crash. He was succeeded by his vice president at the time, Carlos P. Garcia.